I've come to talk to you about a company called Inrupt, but more particularly an approach to AI, which is, in my humble opinion and a lot of smarter people around me, it's the only way we should be entertaining AI going forward. Otherwise, we're headed for a pretty dystopian world. So bear with me for 6.5 minutes and I'll explain what we do. The company was founded by me and a chap who you may have heard of, Tim Berners-Lee, best known for the fact he invented the web. So that's a pretty decent invention. He's changed a lot of our lives, right? Well, he intends to change it again. And not only am I and Tim in the company, but the way we undertook our work required it to be highly secure. So on the team is one of the top 3 cybersecurity people in the world. And we're thrilled to have a lot of other very talented people around us, including our investors here, actually, Glasswing. And then, so we set the company up, and what we aimed to do was to evolve the web. And in Tim's words, and he's the chap who sits astride it all, you know, browsers was all about Web 1.0. You know, we put stuff on the web, allow people to view it. It was a read-only web. Then the technology evolved. It became a read-write web. But as a consequence of that, it created some business models which are quite egregious. It became all about grabbing as much data as you can about your customers and figuring out their propensity to purchase, and as a consequence of which, big silos existed on the web. Tim says, and I want to believe him, because he knows what he's talking about, that the future of the web is about wallets. But not any old wallet, actually. It's about this kind of a wallet. It's a wallet based on a technology born out of MIT called Solid. And Solid's an open source set of protocols and standards. It's now sat astride by the W3C. And if you haven't come across them, they're the body of members on the web who determine the future of the web. They collectively agree what technologies are going to be so important on the web that we have to have agreement. And along the way, not many technologies have assumed that role. Solid is one such, which is fabulous. So it's a set of standards and protocols. It's freely available. And what we did is we built we built an enterprise version of it. And on the next slide, I'll explain what's in a Solid wallet. You're all familiar with wallets. You're all familiar with wallets because we use them to buy coffee. We get on planes with them. We go to concert tickets. You know, it's what we know as an Apple wallet. Let's call it that, right? But it also contains is transactional data. In our wallets, we also contain private data. And private data can be everything from your bank statements and your health records to pictures of your cat. It's whatever you deem to be private and yours. And that too goes in your wallet. And then the wallet understands the publicly available universe of data that you can, all of us know, we're used to finding it on Google. And while all of that's fascinating and really valuable, what makes it truly valuable is the overlap areas between it, where your private data and publicly available data can come together to inform you. And this technology has been in the hands of governments and big corporations now for a few years. What's made it particularly compelling in recent months is we've layered in AI. And we built it, and we call it an Agentic wallet. And there's 3 layers to it. In the first instance, you can ask it questions. And now it can interrogate your wallet. It can look at your transactional data, your private data, and publicly available data, and give you the resultant. You can also instruct it to act on your behalf. You can say, when did I last see Mary? Saw Mary 3 months ago. Okay, how tall am I versus the average chap at MIT? And it will tell me, because it knows my private data and it can assess the publicly available data to determine the resultant. Book a restaurant, book a restaurant date with Mary at the best restaurant in Boston. And it can do that, because it knows me, it knows my private data, it knows what's publicly available in terms of the best restaurants and so on. And we built it. And the most important thing of all is your data stays in the wallet. One thing we're still working on, and that's the last layer, that's anticipate, where it will say, you haven't seen Murray in 3 months, You're going to London. She lives in London. There's a new Italian restaurant open. Do you want me to book it for you? We're still working on that. But the other 2 layers we've built. And it works. And the data stays in your wallet. It doesn't get sucked off to the LLMs. And that's a significant difference to anything else you'll hear about in the course of today. And it's really important because the alternative is, who was it? The OpenAI chap said, you know, it's going to be great. You're going to have an agent, and it will know all about your life. Yeah, sure. And it'll be in their hands. I don't know about you, but I don't want any of that. And the other problem with it is it will create a world where all of the choices that you make will be based on what they recommend. It will overnight change the way commerce works. If you anybody here think when you Google something you get a legitimate and sincere, straightforward? No. This world, it's going to be even worse. So I don't think we want any of that, and it's time to change it, and that's what this product does, and that's what Charlie does. Charlie's really fascinating, actually. I use Charlie. I have it in my pocket. And I can ask Charlie, okay, where should I go on vacation in June? And if we hooked it up to Claude, and Claude will do a pretty good job. It'll say, well, you know, June's an interesting month, and there's nice places to go in the world, and blah, 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 blah. Here's 15 places you might pick from. And then I have one button, and I switch it. And now I say, where should I go on holiday in June? And it looks at my wallet. And it says, because you like photography, and you like hiking, and you like scuba diving, here's 3 places you should go to in June. Actually, here's how much it would cost you to get there. And because you got Delta points, you can get there for free on Delta. The micro-personalization is off the charts. So, if what you'd like to do is take a look at Claude, we'll show it to you. We won't show it to you here, so you're going to have to scan the QR code, and then we'll come along, we'll show it to you. And it works. It's fascinating. The inventor of the web thinks it's amazing. Tells you something. Oh.
That's incredible. I mean, when you were first talking, I was just thinking, you know, on the latest, Galaxy Ultra 25, you have Gemini and it does everything. The only thing that not the only thing, but now you've added a private data part.
Yep.
Now, my question to you is how secure is this? I know you have your cybersecurity offices, and you say governments have access, but by me as an individual putting so much out there of my private data, just looking at the current administration, for example, and
yep.
I'm just going to reframe it so I don't get deported from this country. When I go back to England...
Well, we're both immigrants. So
I know we are. But if I go back home to England and I put some stuff that Keith Starmer is a Wally, for example, and they want to search my phone, how do I protect myself?
Well, you blend in multiple problems, and your question is a fairly intriguing one because it's got multiple dimensions. In the first instance, with this product, you don't put all your data out there.
Okay.
That's the principle. Your data stays with you in your wallet. Doesn't get dispersed all over the web. That's very significant. Secondarily, the way we built it, it takes advantage of all the security that exists anyway, but ours is very, very different because here's an example for you. It's got many attributes, but here's one example. Your credit card is valuable in a database of 10 million other credit cards. And an attacker or a group of attackers can afford to deploy a lot of resources to go after those 10 million credit cards, because if they get it, and they get it on the dark web, they can make good money out of it. So it's an ROI, they're running a business.
Right.
In our world, your data only exists in your wallet. The kind of attack you're going to be subject to is like the difference in a bank robbery where they can really go after it because there's a lot of money in there, and a mugger on the street.
Got it.
Get in your wallet. And if you stay out of dark alleys and don't go to those bars, then...
Or don't go to Liverpool, you mean?
Yeah, well, I'm from a place called Liverpool. It's notorious for a bunch of things, and it's accused of being thieves. But
sorry, in England we're racist towards Liverpoolians. Yeah. That's another story. But okay, any questions from the audience?
Yes, ma'am.
So, John, you made a remark along the notion that this is just an LLM and you build some. Sorry. there was in the exchange there was a remark that, oh, this is just a, sort of an LLM and you build something on top of it. So why can't the two of us go build it? What's so unique about the value creation, especially on the standard side?
Okay, so I didn't have much time to dig in on what what Charlie does, but what Charlie does, it intermediates between your wallet and your data and multiple LLMs or agents or apps. And because of that, you can rest assured Charlie works for you. It looks at your data, keeps your data safe. You can allow access to very, very explicit elements of data based on the inquiry, but it safeguards you against all the external LLMs. It's a very straightforward principle when one considers it, but not something that anybody else has done. It took the inventor of the web to think it up. You're welcome.
Got a question?
Very impressive idea. Are you planning to deploy this as a consumer tool solely, or are you also going after enterprises?
That's a great question. So we're a modest business with small resources, given the immensity of the challenge we're taking on. So what we've chosen to do is to work with big organizations, governments, and principally large-scale organizations. So if you Google us, you'll find publicly, you'll hear lots of stories about us on the web. But the most public example for the governments is in Flanders, where they're deploying to all the citizens. And all the citizens will now be served all their social services using this, and the data that the government puts in there will be made available to corporations who want to rely on the data for their service delivery. So imagine a world where your name and address is the one in your wallet, and you don't need all these organizations to have a copy of your name and address that they spend hundreds of millions of dollars keeping current. They just rely on the one that's in your wallet. It's a simple but hugely potent idea. 100%. We have a project underway right now, one of the most exciting ones we're working on, where health data is going into the wallet, and GPs are interrogating the data to give very, very, very explicit advice. Better yet, we're putting AI on it. And this kind of quality of healthcare is only available to very high net worth individuals currently, but once we built the AI and we get it running, it can be the way we all start to get the benefit of healthcare. I mean, it's quite.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Yes.
So you mentioned that like it has access to both public and private data, of course. Like, so when it comes to private data, again, like there's some kind of data that you want it to be exposed to, and are there like predefined boundaries, or like can we like define boundaries on like what private data do we want?
Yeah, it's a great question, and you can define it down to a single element of data if you so choose. My mum's not going to do that. She's going to, she'll have help characterizing her data, which is very fine, right? So in the world we imagine, it's an ecosystem of actors ultimately. Some of them will help you with consent models, and you might want to maintain your own consent model, but it comes as part of the product. It has a very, very, very sophisticated consent model, actually. But we can dumb it down to, Charlie, I have one button. I literally switch one button. And that's about my level, actually. But I mean, you can go right down to the elemental, a single element of data, and grant consented access to that or not. You can do it on a group basis. You can do it on a time basis. So for the next 24 hours or 14 goes. I mean, it's hugely capable.
Okay. And I just had one more follow-up question. So I just saw that you had some use cases on healthcare as well.
Yep.
So like, was there any interesting use case that you would be willing to share?
Yeah, some of them are public. A lot of them are not because of the nature of our customers. But I'm going to look at Kelly because he'll keep me honest. But we've got a couple of health. The NHS, we did an exploratory project with the National Health Service in the UK, which showed how this could be deployed to Alzheimer's patients. And the caregivers around that individual, doctors, nurses, family, friends, could all interact and basically have differential access to the data in the wallet. They could read and write to the wallet, so doctor could see everything. Nurse can look at specific things. Family could say, Dad had a bad night last night. And again, it's all available on an authorized basis based on who you are, what you can see and what you can write.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
So I believe Sir Lee was in Davos, and all right, let ask the question first, and I'll do the final. Go ahead.
Hi. Yeah, thanks. I'm just still trying to wrap my head around the architecture. So, for example, does your technology, Charlie, work in isolation if only I use it and nobody around me does? Or does it have to be adopted, like you're saying, by a government, and it gave it to all its citizens, and then they are in a network and an environment where...
Great question.
So I'm just trying to kind of
great question. First, let me tease apart two things. One is the wallet exists independently of Charlie. Tim's actually been running his life with this wallet for 6 or 7 years. He doesn't use...
Because we haven't adopted the wallet, but he can still use it.
Yeah. You can singularly use it, or you can, on a group basis, use it. Most of the deployments we're working on, because of the nature of what we're trying to do, we're going for distribution models. So we're looking for very high volume footprints where we can, with one decision, deploy tens of millions of wallets. But
that's a business reason for adoption. It's not a technical reason.
We've basically chosen to go for distribution over adoption, if you like.
Okay.
It's a good question, though.
Thank you.
We have one last question there.
Yeah, I was actually on the adoption note as well. I was just wondering how much work it is to get Charlie personalized to you, and especially as you think of the final step that you're working on anticipation. To what level does someone have to use it before it can personalize to that extent?
Out of the box, it's personalized generally, and it's getting easier and easier because of things like MCP. You know, the new approaches to basically pulling data that exists about you and getting it into one location has accelerated quite dramatically, actually, the facility for us to reach out, pull data into a wallet, and if you will, begin the onboarding process of what... the more you work with it, the better it gets. That's the essence of it. But
so Sir Lee's an amazing visionary, and he's come up with great stuff. He was in Davos. I forgot to ask him this question. What's beyond the wallet? What's the next thing after this?
Oh, well, we actually launched it at Davos. So we were fortunate enough at your MIT event to that was the first time we told anybody about Charlie. Charlie is a staging point to where we want to go to. You know, job one was build the wallet.
Right.
We demonstrated the wallet works, and we've got deployments of the wallet. Then it was put Charlie in the mix, get Charlie to intermediate with the LLMs. And now that's clearly workable in an MVP way. So it's better than prototype, but it still needs development. After that, we have the anticipation. I think that's going to be huge. And there's work still to do, not by us necessarily, but collectively.
Right.
What we're trying to do is take advantage of developments as we see them and bring them to the project. So in the world we envision, it will be able to do things for you with very minimal intermediation on your behalf. And the more it knows of you, the better it will get. That's where we want to go with it.
Great. Fantastic, John.
Sure.
Fabulous.
You're welcome. Thank you.